In specialty healthcare, growth is not optional, but scaling with operational excellence, that's the hard part. I'm Joe Zboch. This is Scaling Specialty Growth. Welcome to another episode of Scaling Specialty Growth. I'm your host, Joe Zboch, and today's guest, I'm really excited about it, Amy Seehafer, COO of Orthopedic and Sports Medicine Specialist. She's an operations and people leader with 20 years experience building teams, systems, and cultures across complex multi-site healthcare organizations. That makes her the perfect fit to share with her peers a few of the scaling challenges and stories specialty operators are facing today. Amy, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Joe. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, I'm excited too. I want to jump right into it with just a question about your overall approach. So how do you, as a COO growing practice, how do you hit organizational growth goals while maintaining operational excellence? What's your approach?
Man, I think it's a whole bunch of things really together. So it all starts with having really strong communication and making sure that everybody knows kind of like what's going on, what their role in all of it is, and what's going to happen, how do things feel for patients. I think it's really important for us also to just really stay true to who we are as an organization. We have a very strong culture, and that culture is really comprised of our company values. And then we have these 28 fundamentals. I know 28 is a lot, but we
How
have
many of
this.
them do you know off the top of your head?
How many do I know? I don't know. It's hard to remember 28, but some of the really important ones are like in this context, do whatever is needed. And that really just means that whatever we have to do to make sure that our organization is growing and that our patients are able to still have that same or even better experience, we really need to do whatever is needed. Another one is do the right thing always. That means sometimes our staff needs to be kind of inconvenienced or they need to be open to change. Also, walking in our patients' shoes, because we are all patients as well as we are team members within a medical practice. So I consistently remind the team to think about, well, how does that feel if you were the patient in this scenario, if we were to reverse roles? And at the end of the day, we always try to keep things fun. So that's another one, because I've only been working in healthcare for about a year and a half. This is my first COO job in healthcare.
That brings a whole unique perspective.
Yes.
I'm sure we'll dig into that a little
Yeah.
bit,
Yeah.
but obviously you got to learn a lot, like acronyms, right? But
Oh
the
gosh, yes.
experience
Yeah.
that you bring, that's really interesting. Okay, so you've covered communication, which is
Yeah.
the backbone of that. Sounds like you're lucky at OSMS is just strong communication. You got 28 values, keeping
And
things
culture.
fun,
Yes.
culture. This all goes
Yeah.
into the framing of, okay, I'm the one who leads the
Mhm.
teams that supports the systems, the infrastructure, and it sounds like it starts with people.
It really does. Yeah. And I always say that really my job and my team's job from an operational standpoint is to make sure that we have the right people doing the right things. And those things need to be solid processes. And we need to make sure that we're looking for the appropriate technology solution. So people, process, and technology.
Yeah.
And with all of that, throughout the last 20 to 25 years that I've been working in these areas, the one thing that I have found is that you can't, as a leader, whether it's me or the people who report to me or the people who report to them, you can't see change and growth as something that is happening to you. It just becomes the game that you're playing. That it becomes just a part of it. So if you change that lens and perspective on, oh man, this is so hard, this is so whatever, and if you can flip that around, and that again becomes that culture piece that I lead as the COO to
Mm.
try to help people see it as something different. It's kind of like when you're trying to get your kids to help you clean the house or something like that. How can you just make it like, hey, it's really feels good to take care of our home, doesn't it? Our home smells really good when it's clean. But the same thing happens in
Yeah.
healthcare and in our business, that we have to just really change those lenses that we have on and say, this is what we're hired to do. This is why we
Yeah.
come to work every day, and we're not going to get mad at it. We're going to embrace it and roll with it.
So there's a few things here that it sounds like you have brought to the team. One of them is just that growth mindset. It's really good to have that perspective that it's not something that happens to you. It's a game that we get to play together, and that we're choosing our teammates here. And fortunately for all of us, we have these 28 core values that we live by, and we're going to make this game fun. So what do you think some of the ways that has been applied to recent projects that you've been working on, that you've rolled out? And before you answer, I think it's really interesting what you said about we're all patients. And so have you done anything where you've tried to experience the process at OSMS as the end patient, the end user, to get a
Mhm.
better, deeper, more emotional understanding of what it feels like to work through your system
Mhm.
or organization?
Yeah, sure. I mean, so there's a couple questions there. I'll just start with kind of that exposure piece. So I personally, when I started here, I shadowed with every physician in clinic and in the surgery centers. I shadowed with all of the front office staff, and I just really wanted everybody from the reception area answering the phone, the people kind of behind the scenes making everything work, the physicians, the nursing staff, all of that, so that I could understand what that felt like. I also had a few family members who have become patients of OSMS, and I've been able to go through that process. And I really learned through that process that it's also important for me to encourage my team to do the same thing. So I've got several team members right now actually working in departments doing some shadowing in departments that are either internal customers of or they are internal customers, and just to really understand kind of those process dynamics to see how does it feel from an internal customer standpoint, how does it feel from a patient standpoint, because sometimes, especially like when people have worked in the same industry for a really long time, you can kind of lose your way a little bit and forget that it really is, at the end of the day, that patient that matters the most. And going out and doing things in this manner, I think highlights things that you can accidentally become numb to. That's the value that I've been able to add, being the person who is newer to the healthcare space. Newer, but very curious and wanting to learn.
Newer and curious. I think the shadowing is a fantastic kind of
Mhm.
lesson for other
Yeah,
peers to apply.
it's
Is there
been really
anything that,
helpful.
yeah, tell me about what you've learned through that process, either you or your team, that you've applied to improve a
Sure.
process, or bring in a new technology or something like that.
Okay. Yeah, in the last year and a half, we've done a lot of things. Some of the things that come to mind are the software platform that we partnered with our EMR to do the patient self scheduling and self check in processes. So that was a big one for us because we went from a situation where, in order to get an appointment here with OSMS, you had to call and talk to somebody. So putting that into place helps you realize exactly how complicated you are, because when you have to put that into a computer program, you're like, oh, wow, okay, we really are complicated. So really, we had to strike a fine balance between having too many rules and not enough rules, because we want patients to have a really good experience, yet we don't want things just going like the Wild West. So,
Okay,
um,
let me
that took a lot of conversation to kind of get that right.
I can imagine. Let's dig into that. I've been in digital health for over 10 years now. Most of that being on the kind of the patient engagement experience side of things. I know that scheduling is a can of worms,
Mhm.
and there's a lot of preferences, and providers, they want it this way. Some of the providers that have been there for a while, and then some there's newer, there's just like, give me patience. So walk me through what some of those conversations have been like, because you shadowed the front office, right? You're having conversations and bringing learnings to the boardroom. And communication is the number one thing that you've said is the
Mhm.
way to strike that operational excellence balance with the needs of an organization to grow in a competitive market. Tell me about
Yeah.
those conversations.
Yeah, so those conversations are really just not really, we look at whatever part of the process we're working on and we say, just because we do it that way doesn't mean that we have to continue to do it that way. My leadership style Anybody who's worked with me for a long time will tell you I talk a lot about intentionality. One thing that's constant in the world is change, right? So like everything's
Mhm.
changing around you, things are changing inside your organization. So it's really important to take a temperature check on whatever the components are to the business to say, is this serving us, or is this overly rigid, or is it not rigid enough? Are we creating inefficiencies and friction? So as we walked through the implementation of this platform, so for instance, with this self-scheduling, we had a lot of rules, right? And many of them, we walked through all of them. We ended up talking with providers. We talked with administrators internally and different clinic teams. And some of the things stayed and some of the things didn't stay. And again, it's not like when you just like throw stuff into a closet and you're unintentionally keeping things because you didn't take everything out and then decide what to put back in.
Mm.
That process of intentionality where you just take it apart and you really look at it with a set of neutral lenses and then decide whether we're going to stop, start, continue.
Stop, start, continue. That's a great
Yep.
framework. Yep. And I guess it's really important that one of the 28 is do what's needed, right? Because
Yeah.
if you don't have that mindset where we're playing this game together and on the same team, it's not going to be fun. Take things that
No.
maybe are a little bit dusty, that it's the way that you've always done it. Are there,
Agreed.
outside of scheduling, are there any other projects where maybe it didn't go well initially and that either you or the team, you had to just do a reset and say, hey,
Yeah,
this is
this
not,
very project, Joe.
yeah.
This very project was difficult. We had to stay steadfast. We had to stay united. We had to, one of the parts of my past and what I also bring to OSMS is around very purposeful organizational change management. And really, what I mean by that is just the communication and training. And part of that is just setting expectations for people. And with any technology change, it's going to feel messy. Even if it's a small change, as much as you plan for that change, it's going to feel different. It's like if you take your toaster from one side of your kitchen and you put it on the other side. Well, it really doesn't matter where that thing is. It's just going to feel different for a little while. But after a week, you're going to start walking to the other side. So being able to, again, put on those lenses for the team to just say, hey, we're doing this, and this is a really impactful move for our company and for our patients. However, it's going to feel weird. It's going to feel different. You're going to get mad at it. You're going to
You're gonna
resent
get,
it. And that's all normal. After a month or so, this is just going to be a really good process. And you're a part of helping us to learn all of the things that we didn't think of before we went into this. We tried our best to think of all the things, but rather than seeing it as a complaint, if you can see it as, hey, here's an opportunity for us to really fine tune this process, because
let me,
after
let me,
your implementation, really what you're doing is you're stabilizing a platform because you implement it and it's not yet stable. Your first goal is to stabilize something. And then from there, you begin optimizing, but you don't begin optimizing until you've stabilized.
yep. I love that.
So
Um,
just explaining that to the team and letting them know what's coming is really important. And
yes.
it's really cool. Everybody gets really excited and has a much better attitude about all of it.
Yeah, it sounds like there's strong communication, touched on it a bunch, but like the
Mhm.
fundamental almost point of view of the way that you run your shop is we got to be on the same side of this. I love
Yeah.
what you said about not just you're going to get mad at it, but and I think this is a perspective shift, right? Which I think is a hallmark of what you're bringing to OSMS, and it's you're going to be a key part of helping us learn what we didn't think of. That's
Yes.
subtle, but
Hmm.
that's big. That's big.
Powerful. It
Yeah.
is. Right.
Nice.
So rather than people feeling like you're doing something to them, they view themselves as a part of a solution for the greater good. And yeah, you're right. It's a subtlety, but it's really powerful.
Love it. What else are you working on these days? Or perhaps what's coming next that you're excited about?
Yeah, we're working on a lot of things. We're really excited to be opening a new clinic in the southern part of our region mid-April. So the team has
Congratulations.
been really working on that. We have a really
How do you,
thorough project plan and a team, and everybody's got their marching orders, and it makes me incredibly proud to see how well the team
heck
is
yeah.
showing up. So that's new structure for OSMS. We haven't been quite as structured, and the team is doing great, and they seem to really like it.
Okay.
So I'll keep
New
doing it until
structure,
somebody tells me to stop.
but you haven't been as structured historically in building new
No,
structure. Yeah.
no.
What was different this time? Obviously, you're bringing like, hey, what was, I guess what I'm getting at is, what was the decision process that it's like,
Yeah.
hey, we need to
This is,
expand.
I think, Joe, it's pretty simple. This is the first large project, facilities project that I have led for the organization. So, given the fact that I come from a long history of project management and formal change management, I just brought the processes that I've learned and that have become a part of my person. And I told the team that if we do a bunch of planning and we are really intentional about how all of this goes, our goal is to make this project seem like, have everybody say, well, that was easy. Frankly, if people show up and patients say, wow, this was smooth, and our employees are like, wow, that was easy, that's what we're going for. That means that we've done our project management and our change management, and we've thought about all of the things that the patients are going to want, the staff is going to want, and those changes become really smooth. So we're really excited about that one.
Mhm.
You
What
know,
else?
we're working on some alternative revenue streams for rheumatology and working on MID pharmacy. We're just continuing to look for other expansion opportunities to serve underserved communities within our footprint. So that's really exciting, having the opportunity to get those satellite clinics out there, and just really continuing to work with the team to optimize our labor, control overhead expenses, all of those kind of things, because growth brings significant cost challenges over time, and you just never quite have the right things. It's always too little, too much. I was jokingly saying to the team the other day, that's the reason why the Three Bears was written. Somebody was reacting to something in their world where it's just never quite right. And
Yeah.
that's really the magic of all of this. So just continuing to work with our teams and try to get that closer to imbalance is
Let's dig in on the
really big
optimizing
stuff.
labor and
Sure.
the growth brings cost challenges. That's a
Yeah.
really interesting thing because
Mhm.
there's got to be these cycles of diverge and converge as it relates
Yes.
to this, right?
Yeah.
So how do you in your, or what has been in your experience, maybe a framework, a way of thinking in terms of like, okay, now is the time to optimize. Now is the time to cut, get
Mhm.
lean, because maybe we've established this as it's viable, right? What this thing that we're doing.
Right. So I think the most important things that we've really been working on, and we continue to work on this and struggle with it a little bit, is to have really good visibility and good data, consistent data that is clean, having KPIs and targets, and having every member of the team really understand what they're shooting for, how they fit in, and also getting comfortable being uncomfortable, because when you're in a growth mode, you may need a little bit more. Say you need zero point 0.2 FTE more, but you can't utilize overtime all the time, and you can't just be bringing in all of these people. So you have to figure out ways to be creative and get more done, all the while not having people get too upset and quit. So again, it's that mindset shift with the team. And we're not always perfect at this by any means, but the more you can have things like budgets and dashboards and be actively reviewing those numbers all the time and making sure that everybody understands what the targets are, and are we over, are we under, what does that mean, what can we do about it, what are those levers that it's been a really big learning curve for me. This year is really focused on getting my team up to speed as well.
That's amazing.
It's a very complex machine.
It is,
Yeah.
and there, you heard it here first, folks. If you want a large project that's very difficult, Amy is. um, so we have a couple minutes left. I would love to hear maybe somebody who's a bit earlier on, maybe director level or wanting to get in the operations side of things. We talked a lot about balancing the growing pains, being in growth mode, and when it makes sense to do the operational kind of streamlining of things. What's your advice for a new leader really trying to scale themselves?
That's a good question. I would say spend a bunch of time learning the business. Learn how the business wins, learn how the business fails. And I talk a lot about like ecosystems and equations and things like that, because that's how my brain works. I think, we all as operational leaders need to focus on what are all of the inputs, outputs, things that we can dial up, dial back to make success or failure. You have to learn what it is, how it works, and then what are the maneuvers that you make to run hot or run cold. And if you can figure that out, you have a really high likelihood of succeeding.
I love that. In this conversation, it's been a great just look inside of your brain and how you're running operations at OSMS. And you're a systems thinker, right? You want to understand the function of a thing, the input and the output. And it sounds like the way that you frame that and almost humanize it in a sense is by making it feel like a game and then
Yeah.
getting people bought into playing it together and making sure that they're heard along the way.
Yes. And just breaking these complicated things down
Yeah.
into digestible pieces and parts, because when you get to the point of working at a director level or a COO level, the problems are hard. There's nothing easy about these problems, so you have to be able to look at things and come to a conclusion as to what's going on, but then not just figure that out. You have to also then figure it out how to translate it to your team, your audience, all of the stakeholders who are involved, so that people can understand, why does this matter? What do we need to do? What does success look like? All of those kind of things.
Amy, thank you so much for joining this episode of Scaling Specialty Growth. Hope to have you on in the future at some point.
Thanks, Joe. This has been really fun. I appreciate you having me.
Awesome. Hey, it's Joe. Thanks for listening. If you like what you hear, share with a peer. And if you're looking to scale referral operations to drive growth and efficiency, visit hatchcare.com.